What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks. It's Brian Hines, back as always with Alex Barth. We're in week 10. Barth, things are flying by. Week 10,
right.
The Patriots are going back on the road down to Tampa Bay to take on the 6-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Coming off a bye for Barth, I would say, is probably, I know they're a little banged up, but probably their Patriots' biggest test here since that Buffalo game earlier this year.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked last week that the Falcons represented a step up from the Browns, Titans, and Saints, and that is still true. I don't think that's changed, but this is another step up, and it's another step up to another degree. Yep. I think Tampa, now they've had some injuries, but I think Tampa is like a Super Bowl contending team in the NFC. I think that they are a team that could go the distance and come out of that conference. And, can they do it without Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin, who they likely won't have against the Patriots? Like, that's another story. Well, I guess it's not, because we're talking about the level of team the Patriots are going to play, but they've got a quarterback that's in the MVP conversation. They have a rookie receiver that has been absolutely outstanding. A couple rookie receivers that have been pretty good. Cade Otton starting to come on. And it's another defensive front that's going to be a test. And then they've got some good players in the secondary as well. So this is, this is, even with their faults, this is a tough team. This is a team that's going to give the Patriots a real test and a chance to really see how they measure up.
Yeah. I should have went back and looked. I think in our preview show, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl and had Baker as like a sneaky MVP candidate. Okay. So definitely a good team. They are a little banged up though, as we mentioned, but with this defense, similar in a way to the Falcons with, the pressure, they're going to heat you up, very exotic way, a little different, like schematically point of view. But for Drake May, like struggled that second half against Atlanta. I think you said yesterday, maybe his worst half of football this year, which, was still made some big time throws. That's just the level of football he's been playing, but clearly something kind of flipped after that strip sack. So good chance to bounce back, but what do you think has to kind of happen against this Todd Bowles defense that, again, throws a lot at you, a lot of different pressure looks, and sacks have been a big point of emphasis this week. He's taken 6 sacks the last two weeks. A lot of that has been on him. He admitted that yesterday. So what are you looking for Drake in order to bounce back against this tough Bucs defense?
I mean, just kind of clean up some of the stuff that got away from him last week, stuff that we saw him struggle with as rookie. Don't try to stiff arm defenders off you in the pocket. Like, first and foremost, that's not going to work. Don't do it. Just a better job taking care of the football. I think that there's important against this defense, against a guy like Antoine Winfield. We heard Brady talk about this a lot with Ed Reed, and that's not to compare Drake May to Tom Brady. It's certainly not to compare Antoine Winfield to Ed Reed. Those are two guys that are above comparison, but you'd hear Brady talk about, like, they always needed to know where Ed Reed was on the field, because it wasn't a matter of, throwing the ball away from him. He could cover so much ground that he was always sort of a factor. And Antoine Winfield has the range. He plays with the range to do that. He's going to be wherever you want to throw the ball, he's going to be. It's going to be a lot harder to throw the deep ball in this game in particular. And, add on to the fact that probably won't have Kayshon Boutte. He hasn't practiced yet this week. Deep ball is going to be tough. So you got to stay out of those second and longs, and some of those sacks that he's been taking, you can't take and expect to convert. So don't get reckless with the football. Josh McDaniels kind of said today, what we had talked about, Brian, on this show, is that the increase in sacks goes along with the decrease in turnovers. But he's got to start, this game's going to test both, because you can't be taking those sacks, but he needs to not be reckless with the football. And then up front, just better communication. They got beat. The strip sack last week, that was a line game. And that got beat on him. And Vita Vea, like, this interior is going to get tested. When I say communication, it's not necessarily just guys talking to each other, but the chemistry with which those guys are playing is going to be tested this week. They need to be better than they've been the last couple of games.
Definitely. And with Drake too, this Bucs defense it's not good against scrambling quarterbacks. So maybe this is a week that, there's some rushing lanes open and he is looking to kind of take off early, but no matter pocket, running around, hold on to the football, protect yourself if he is running, right? That's obviously a big point of emphasis every week, but there will be kind of a lot thrown at him here. And you do have to avoid, getting pushed back behind the chains. And the other thing with that, Bucs defense really good against the run. I think they're 6th in DVOA against this run, the run this year. Obviously, big Vita Vea in the middle, still holding things down for that defensive line. And now the Patriots, you mentioned Kayshon Boutte, also Ramondre Stevenson with that toe injury hasn't practiced. So do you think they can get this run game going with Travion Henderson and Terrell Jennings again, likely leading that duo in the backfield against this tough Bucs defense in total against the run?
Well, the crazy thing, we talked about this with Taylor this week down Gillette. They've actually been better at stopping runs to the outside than stopping runs in the middle. Like, there's a noticeable difference on runs outside the tackles.
Yeah, last in yards before contact inside.
So there's that. Just big picture. Taylor, I'm sure, broke it down a lot more finite than I'm going to, but on runs outside the tackles, they're allowing 3.3 yards per carry. That is the second lowest rate in the NFL. They're behind only the Giants. 3.3 yards per carry. On runs in between the tackles, 4.6 yards per carry. That's bottom 10 in the NFL. So you can run up the middle on this team. You obviously don't want to run at Vita Vea, so you have to try to figure out how to make it work between the tackles, not at Vita Vea. But the success of Travion Henderson, as he started to kind of figure things out here, has been outside the tackles. So do they try to test that and go strength on strength? Do they try to get him moving more up the middle and put more faith in this interior offensive line that struggled? This would be a game, and who would have thought we'd be sitting here first week in November? Josh McDaniels, the offense coordinator, was the one thing everybody bitched about when Josh McDaniels got hired. Oh, I don't want the screen, guys. Too many screens. Blah, blah, blah. How'd that all work out, by the way? I'm actually going to sit here and say, I wonder if they call a few more screens this week. This feels like it could be a good screen week. So it's going to be interesting. That's going to be a test for McDaniels and the coaching staff to see how they sort that out.
Yeah. Well, they haven't been a good screen team when they've called them, but this definitely feels like a week where they could. And even if it's not a screen, maybe if it's just like, leaking Travion Henderson out in the flat.
Something to simulate the outside run game in the pass game.
Yeah, just something, get him the ball out there in space. I think the Bucs are pretty vulnerable to that. So, and then maybe you lean on Terrell Jennings a little more, going between the tackles, that bigger body. Now, you don't want to be predictable, right? Like if Terrell Jennings is out there, you're running it up the gut, and if Travion's out there, you're going outside or throwing him the ball out in the flat or something. But I do think that's a good way to attack this kind of defensive front. So I could see Travion being pretty involved in the pass game. Maybe we'll have to put him total yards or receiving yards in our prize picks lineup here later on. But I do think the rushing total might not look good, but the total yards again for Travion could look pretty good in this one. But also at receiver, you mentioned Boutte there. I mean, this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, all year that they might be down one of their top wide receivers. Again, they've been pretty healthy all year. It's been a good work by their medical team and everything. But if they're down Kayshon Boutte, are you just going Kyle Williams, kind of 1-for-1 substitution, or are you getting a little bit more creative maybe with this wide receiver group in his absence?
Maybe a little more of Mac Hollins, and you run some more Hollins, Diggs, Douglas sets, but I think it's mainly Kyle Williams stepping up the X. You pick this guy in top 100. I know he hasn't done a ton yet. Vrabel talked about how it's been tough for him because he's having to learn multiple positions at once. Yeah, that's probably pretty tough. This week, I would have just let him focus on the X, build that chemistry with Drake May. Yeah, I think this is you picked him in the top 100 to be a starting receiver. Let him start repping in the starter receiver role and see what it looks like.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. And hopefully they can build some of that chemistry, because I know Drake talked yesterday and said he couldn't remember any miscommunications with Kyle Williams. I don't know if he was just protecting Kyle Williams there, but they just haven't been able to get on the same page. And we talked about this a lot, on Monday. Kyle Williams, working a lot on the scout team and not working a lot with Drake in practice. So this week he's in Boutte's place. He figured they'd have to work with each other and get some targets. So I'm hoping we see some good amount of Kyle Williams. I was talking about this to Taylor at practice, and Pat Stats put it in the chat here. Chisholm for spots routes in the middle. Is this Efton Chisholm's maybe first career catch? I could kind of see it. If you're putting Kyle Williams at the X right now, you need a backup to work in behind Pop Douglas and Steph Diggs. So I don't know. Maybe we get Efton Chisholm's first career catch. That could be a call this week.
Yeah, I could see it. I could absolutely see it.
Yep. And I could also see another big Pop Douglas catch, because I like Jacob Parrish in the draft. I think we both did. Nickel, playing good in run support, but he's been pretty vulnerable to giving up some big plays. So maybe they can keep getting Pop Douglas going downfield and get him some more explosive against Jacob Parrish. But Bucs corners have been pretty good. Jamel Dean is the PFF's top-ranked corner. Zion McCollum has been very good on the other side as well, so they'll have a good test, and Winfield obviously in the backfield there as well. But offensive line, anything you're looking for against, some good edge rushers? I know Hassan Reddick has been a DNP this week, but big test in the middle for Jared Wilson and Garrett Bradbury against Vita Vea. But anything that's on your watch list for that O-line?
Again, just the continuity, the chemistry. They're going to get a lot thrown at them, and they're going to have to react quickly in their ability to do that.
Yep. And Garrett Bradbury missed yesterday in practice. He was
back huge today. Getting him back. I don't know what, is it Jared Wilson inside Penn Brown to guard? Is it Penn Brown to center? I don't know what that would look like. This is a big game for Garrett Bradbury.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine, again, it looks like Garrett Bradbury is going to play. I would imagine they would just put Ben Brown at center, right? Probably not best to move 2 spots and just move 1 spot. But it does seem like Garrett Bradbury is going to be back. But, big test for him and Wilson. We've talked about those guys struggling to deal with power at times, 2 smaller interior players. And you got Vita Vea coming at you, maybe one of the most powerful guys in football. So it'll be a good test for both of those guys. And you hope Bradbury with that hip injury isn't too banged up for there. So we'll see. Someone did ask, any idea, speaking of Booty, how long Booty will be out? What is the extent of his injury? He said on Discord, we confirmed that is his Discord, that it was a grade 1 mild sprain, I think it was. And so it doesn't seem like he will be out too long with this hamstring injury.
Yeah, my guess, look, they're going to have, the schedule gets weird here, right? So is it, okay, we're not going to play against Tampa, so he gets extra rest. He'll play Thursday night against the Jets, and then, he'll have 10 days off after that game. If it's really low grade, I would think he misses 2 games at most. The short week ends up hurting him, but I do wonder if it's, okay, we could have him play this game or the Jets game, but not both. So let's give him extra rest on both sides. And have him play the 1 game in a 3-week stretch.
Yeah, could see that. Or maybe they just keep him out of the Jets because you know how tricky those hamstring injuries can be as well. So, and with the Jets fire sale, hopefully you can still beat the Jets without Kayshon Boutte, but doesn't seem like it's going to be anything major. Obviously avoided IR, so he should be back. At least you would figure after that Jets game if he misses that. So it doesn't seem too long and serious there for Boutte. But anything else offensive side of the football, or we can jump over to the defense?
I think that's pretty much it for offense.
All right. Let's go to the defense. But before we do that, we, of course, have to hear from our friends over at Prize Picks. And Barth, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right and simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Big Thursday night football in the AFC West. Broncos, Raiders, Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin leading that offense in Vegas. I know they just traded Jacoby Myers, but Brock Bowers is back. Just went nuclear last week. Ashton Genty still in their backfield. So plenty of options to pick for if you want to get in on the Thursday night football action. Or Barth and I will, of course, put our lineup together for the Patriots game on Sunday. So plenty of Patriots you guys can put in your Prize Picks lineup as well. And they also offer injury reboots. So if one of your player leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. So make sure you download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, all over on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. All right, to Baker Mayfield and this Buccaneers offense against this Patriots defense. Barth, they're down Mike Evans. Looks like they're going to be down Bucky Irving. Chris Godwin also bullet dodged with Patriots in that free agency, but also he looks like he's also going to be out. So who scares you on this Bucs offense, and how do you go about slowing that person down?
So, I mean, first and foremost is Emeka Egbuka. I know he was kind of quiet last week, but he's been really good this week. And what's tricky is they move him around a lot. And we haven't seen the Patriots. Mike Vrabel talked about in the offseason that cat coverage. We haven't seen it a lot. If they're going to move him in the slot, is it Marcus Jones on Emeka Egbuka? Or are they going to have Gonzalez follow him in the slot? Because he's playing the slot about 40% of the time. Tez Johnson, and the other thing is, if you have Gonzalez on Egbuka, Marcus Jones on Tez Johnson, you can match that speed for speed. Not super worried about Sterling Shepard. And then it's Cade Otton. And then we're just doing the tight end thing again. Can they stop a tight end? Can they slow down a tight end? Because Cade Otton has kind of been the guy that stepped up since Mike Evans and Chris Godwin went down. He's been playing really good football lately. So if it's just Gonzalez and Igbuka, Igbuka will get his, he'll get a couple, but he doesn't worry me a ton as like a game breaker. Then it's just, once again, stopping the tight end, stopping Otten.
Yeah. I hope they do lean into that cat coverage, because I do think the matchups play into their favor, right? With Gonzalez on Buka,
Oh, yeah.
The speed is really good there with Marcus Jones versus Tez Johnson. And then, yeah, so how are you going about Otten? Because he has been very productive, especially after the catch recently. You know, he's kind of sneaks up on you in that way. So we talked about Craig Woodson did a decent job on Kyle Pitts last week in man coverage. Are you just going back to that and seeing if Craig Woodson can kind of build off that if you're living in man, or do you have another kind of way of maybe trying to slow Cade Otton down there?
Probably throwing a couple things at him. You know, Craig Woodson obviously is going to need to be a guy that steps up. Do we see some more from Marte Mapu? I'm done wondering if they're going to put a corner on a tight end. Like in theory, Sterling Shepard doesn't worry me to the point that put Alex Austin or Charles Wood seems to be the new third corner. Put Charles Woods on him, and then Carlton Davis on Cade Otton. But I don't think they're going to do that. My guess is that they put it on Craig Woodson's plate. He's been good, and he's the most likely fit for that role.
Yeah, and if he keeps building off his success, that could be big for the second half of the year, going up against some more good tight ends down the stretch. So I think they would have the advantage in coverage there. I know Baker's been really good, but he's kind of been slowed down the last 2 weeks before the bye. Obviously, the injuries are playing a big factor in that. But on the year, they've not been good against man coverage. So I do hope we see a little bit more man coverage. I know they started playing it better, the Patriots wise, schematically, providing some middle of the field help last week. So keep building on that, letting guys shadow receivers, keep building on that. And I think the advantage is in their favor. But you scared of the Bucs ground game at all? I know Patriots defense has been so good against the run, so probably not, but are you scared of Rachaad White will be in there for Bucky? Sean Tucker, I believe, is their third string guy there. So any concern about the Bucs ground game, or even Baker Mayfield making some things happen with his legs?
I mean, maybe Rachaad White in the pass game.
Mm-hmm.
They did a good job on Bijan last week, but they were kind of keyed in on him. I don't expect them to key in on Bucky, on Rachaad White the same way they did Bijan Robinson. But no, I mean, at this point, I trust the Patriots run defense. And I think Tampa's going to want to throw the ball the way the Patriots pass defenses looked. I think it makes sense to come out and throw the ball if you're Tampa. So I think it's an advantage to you if Tampa's running it. I don't have a ton of concerns there.
Definitely. But Baker can extend, and he'll pick up a big first down or two with his legs. So that's something.
Yeah, they gave up a couple of those to Penix last week, but it's going to happen once or twice. You just can't let it be a regular thing. You can't let it be a backbreaker. But since he's banged up, I do wonder if he's going to be a little more reluctant to run.
Definitely. Just with the Patriots front, how do you think? Do you think we'll see any change in this edge rotation? You know, obviously Landry and Kayvon Chason are going to lead the way, but they didn't acquire any depth. So do you think it's just Ponder and Jennings? Could we maybe see Braden Swinson? Right, it doesn't look like Christian Ellis is going to play, so they could have a spot to elevate someone. And could that be Braden Swinson, or do you think it's just going to kind of be business as usual there for their edge depth in this one?
I would think at some point we'll see Swinson. I don't know this week because they're going to have to elevate, assuming Ramondre doesn't play, which he didn't practice Wednesday and Thursday. So that's usually a safe assumption to make, right? D'Ernest Johnson's going to get one spot. They're thin at linebacker without Ellis. So do they elevate a linebacker with that other spot? And maybe that is Swinson and it's off the ball, but I don't know. They moved Tavai back there or something. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but it's generally been how they've used these elevations is just to fill holes from injuries. Last week, they didn't have a ton of holes to fill, and they only elevated the one guy, right? So Darius Harris is their one practice squad linebacker. Do we see him? I think Swinson's going to get his chance. They might be a little too banged up this week to make that this week.
To add another guy on the edge there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But you're going to need someone definitely with special teams experience, right? Because Ellis plays multiple units. So,
right.
So we'll see what they.
So maybe that is Swinson. Like, we don't know how involved Swinson is in the kicking game at practice. The other thing is, and I forgot this, I should mention, Richie Grant has been elevated just as another safety. I think they just like him as a player to have available. So,
and he can play special teams.
Yeah, I don't think this is Swinson's week. I said this the day of the trade deadline, and I do think that part of this is they want to give Swinson, Ponder, and let's throw Caleb Murphy in there too. I do think they want to give these guys a chance and see what they have in these young guys. I just think with Swinson, this isn't the week.
So Swinson, I just pulled it up. Preseason, he actually played 5 special teams units. So if he's still working on that in practice, might have a role to be able to just go in there on special teams. And then, but yeah, I agree. I hope at some point down the stretch we get him some pass rush opportunities, because I do think there's some juice there. I think there's more juice than a guy like Anthony Jennings. I know Elijah Ponder looked better than him in the summer and training camp when we got to watch every day and in preseason games. But, you know, Ponder's been pretty quiet as well in game action. So I do think at some point we will see Swinson. Maybe it's this week, or maybe they go someone else for more off-ball linebacker depth if they want to do that. But anything else defensively you're looking at, or Bucs offense?
I mean, the Bucs offensive line's banged up. So some of their pass rush production struggles, like, because they're not producing at the rate we thought, but they're playing well. Those two things are not necessarily related. Tampa's just, or opposing quarterbacks are just throwing the ball so quick that the pass rush doesn't have time to get home. Baker will hold the ball a little bit. Baker wants to take some of those deeper shots. He has personnel to do it. So can they take advantage of a weak offensive line? How do we see them run the line games with Milton Williams and Christian Barmore? I do think this is a favorable week for the Patriots pass rush.
Yeah. And honestly, whole defense maybe with all these. And I know Baker's been playing well like all year, even though the last 2 weeks again were a bit of a struggle. But like, it would be nice to kind of have a game where like the defense takes over and makes things a little bit easier for the offense, because the offense, you know, it's going up against a tough Bucs defense, dealing with some injuries, right? No Booty, no Mondre. We saw the offense look last week in that second half without him. So it would just kind of be a nice change of pace here if the defense can kind of just put their foot down from the start and make things a little bit easier for that Patriot.
I do think like they're middle of the pack in turnovers force. They haven't not been able to do it, but I thought they were going to be a team that really got after the football. Baker, so he only has 2 picks, but he's one of the highest turnover worthy play rates in the league. And you got a backup running back in there in ground game. Like, is this a week to force some turnovers? If it's going to be a high scoring game, like we think, turnovers loom large. Like, one big turnover can flip a high score game. We saw that a couple weeks ago when the Bucs played Seahawks. So I am looking for the defense to get their hands on the football more in this game.
Definitely. Yeah, there should be opportunities. So take advantage of those, set up some short fields, maybe. That would be helpful going forward. So last thing, just any special teams notes for this one. Looks like the weather's going to be nice in Tampa, but you know that rain can pop up at any moment down there in Florida. But what you looking at in the special teams department?
Two of the best punt returners in the league. Obviously, we know what Marcus Jones can do. Tampa's punt coverage unit, I should say, has been one of the worst. So it's been a few weeks since the Patriots broke a big return, either way, kickoff or punt. You know, Tampa's not good at covering kickoffs either, but Efton Chisholm still kind of figuring it out back there. It was better last week, but still figuring it out. I am looking at Marcus Jones and then Cameron Johnson, the Bucs punt returners, top 5 in the league in yards per return. And he doesn't have a touchdown, but he has a number of 20-plus yard returns. It doesn't need to be a touchdown. Like, a big return in this game, even if it's not a score, could flip it. So Patriots punt coverage has been good. Tampa's hasn't. Is that an advantage for the Patriots where they can get more out of their plus punt returner than maybe Tampa can?
Absolutely. Yeah, any big plays in that special teams third phase of the game can swing, especially in these important games, big games, 2 good teams. So look for Marcus Jones maybe to make a little bit of an impact there. Chisholm, I'm with you. Like, we know he's not fast. He's making good decisions, but just keep getting past the 30. I think that's the key point for them right now. So would imagine he and Dearness Johnson are still handling that role. So we'll see if they can break something big there in the kicking game. But let's wrap up with our Prize Picks lineup for the week. Barth, again, new users can use code CLNS and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup over there on Prize Picks. Any player you specifically standing out for, think is going to have a good game?
Well, we were saying Travion, right?
Travion, yeah, he's got. Oh, the running backs could be a little tough here with no Ramondre. He's got. So the only things for Travion Henderson up right now, more than 1.5 rush plus receiving touchdowns. So 2 total touchdowns. Oh, this is a sicko pick.
What do we got?
More or less than 3.5 yards on his first rush.
Sorry, say that again.
More or less than 3.5 yards on his first rush.
Oh, we have to include this.
Right off the bat, first handoff of the game, Travion Henderson, 4 yards.
But like Josh McDaniels will use that as a setup, and it's like, all right, if I burn this run, I show you something. What do you think?
I kind of like more, just for the thrill of it.
Let's go more. We're including it. Absolutely. Let's go more.
I mean, we have to there. So Stephon Diggs, 57.5 receiving yards. Matt Collins is 29.5 receiving yards and 2.5 receptions.
You know, I like Matt Collins more on the receptions because they're going to blitz a lot, and he generally plays, you know, when they go play action.
Yep. And he might just be playing a little bit more with no Kayshon Boutte. Hunter Henry, let's look at some Drake May. Drake May, 5.5 rush attempts, 30.5 rush yards. Again, the Bucs are bad against scrambling quarterbacks. 244.5 passing yards.
That rush yards won it. What was it, 30.5?
30.5. Want to go more there?
Yeah. I think he might take off a couple times.
I like that. So that's 3. Let's look at Tampa. Let's go over to the Buccaneers here. Baker he's got an interception. We could go more or less. Want to go more? Talk about those turnovers.
Yeah, but he's been lucky this year. Let's go less. Go less on that. Okay. Yeah.
He stays lucky.
We always do like 6 pro Patriots picks. The game's never that perfect. We got to mix something in.
Cade Otton, 47.5 receiving yards. We always go more on the opponent's tight end.
I mean, because we know what this team does.
Yeah. Oh, they kind of slowed down Kyle Pitts. I think we were wrong about the Kyle Pitts one last week. Oh,
well, did they slow down Kyle Pitts, or did it just make too much sense to keep throwing the ball to Drake London?
Keep throwing the ball to Drake London. That's fair. Ibuka is 67.5 receiving yards. Think they can hold him under that?
See, if it's just Gonzalez on him, yeah, I think they hold him under that. If they're rotating, then no. I wouldn't touch that one because I'm not sure what their coverage plan is going to be.
Okay. So you want to go Otton? Is that the one you're most
Let's go
confident in?
Yeah.
More than 47.5 receiving yards. All right. So those are 5. Do we have our sicko pick?
I mean, it's got to be Browns-Jets, right? I would think it's the worst game in the league this week.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think if there's any other like goofy storylines. You know, how do we think 9 is going to do this week?
It's so probably throw 9 passes,
right?
As usual.
I mean, Saints-Panthers there's nothing worse. How is there going to be anything worse? Why am I even scrolling? There's nothing worse than Browns-Jets. What's like the most sicko pick in Browns-Jets?
Let me look through these here. It would probably be something with the quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, some with Justin Fields.
Dylan Gabriel is 187.5 pass yards.
They did just trade Sauce.
Justin Fields is 169.5 pass yards.
Oh boy. Oh, where's that game? It's in New York.
Yes, I believe.
It's the weather on Sunday.
Justin Fields, 37.5 rush yards.
I mean, look, I will say this. It's supposed to rain in New York on Sunday too. Not really. It's supposed to rain, but not during the game. Wouldn't it be the most Jets thing ever
to win this game?
Burn it down on defense, and then just like have their defense play lockdown without Sauce? Would that not be the most Jets thing ever?
It would. And the pass rush without Quinnen is just getting after Dylan Gabriel all game. Like that would be very Jets.
Do we go less on Dylan Gabriel pass yards?
Yeah, let's do it. Because he also just isn't good.
Yeah, but it's such a low number.
His is actually higher than Justin Fields, but that's where they're at. So we got our 6-man lineup here. We got Baker Mayfield, less than half an interception. Cade Otton, more than 47.5 receiving yards for the Buccaneers. Then we got Drake May, more than 30.5 rushing yards. Matt Collins, more than 2.5 receptions. Travion Henderson, more than 3.5 yards on his first rush. And then Dylan Gabriel, less than 187.5 pass yards. So if we go 6 for 6, it's a 40-time multiplier. We'll know on maybe the first play of the game if we have a chance to go 6 for 6 with Travion Henderson's first rush. But if he gets it and we keep going and we put $20 on, we win 800. New users who use code CLNS and play $50 in lineups. If you put the 50 on that, you win 2,000 if we go 6 for 6.
Look
and
at
then
that.
you play your first $5 lineup as well. Still a good $200 winning. We also get multiplier payouts for 4 and 5 picks correctly. So we don't have to go a perfect 6 for 6. You can still win some money if we go 4 of 6 and 5 of 6 there as well. So again, we'll put out our prize picks lineup for you guys to play along with us. And again, new users use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup all over on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. So there we go. Good lineup this week. Feeling good about that. But Barth, any closing thoughts, or we can get on out of here?
I just think this game, I don't think look, there's no moral victories in this league. I don't think the Patriots need to win this game for us to feel good about the direction they're going in. For all we've talked about an easy schedule, and I know that they still have. Do they still have the easiest schedule remaining of all the teams in the NFL? I know they're down there, but they've checked a lot of these games off. Holy crap, they still have the easiest schedule by like a wide margin.
There you go.
oh my. Well, okay, but the point I was going to make is they have 2 games against the Jets and one's against the Dolphins. Like, that's weighing that thing down pretty significantly. They are going to get some tests here. It does get a little bit tougher. We knew this at the time. We said this at the time in the second half. This was a game, Brian. I don't remember where you were. I had this game as a loss going into the season.
Yeah, me too.
We talked about this a little bit last night. We kind of disagreed, but there is probably one trap game in there between the Bengals and Giants, whichever one you want to call it. And then you still have the Bills, and you have the Ravens with a healthy Lamar Jackson. So their record maybe doesn't reflect how tough that game's going to be. I know people are sick of hearing, easy schedule, and I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I think there's something to, like, they've played an easy schedule. There's no way around that, but they're not just eking out these close wins against bad teams. They're making bad teams look like bad teams. And that's all you can ask. We are going to get a little more context here, though, over the next few weeks. And I don't think it's like they're not finishing 15-2. I would be. Then again, I said they wouldn't hold Bijan under 50 rushing yards. And I said they wouldn't run for 170 yards on the Browns. So who the hell knows? But they're not finishing 15-2. They're going to get to test some adversity here. Mike Vrabel and his coaching staff have done a really good job of building up the culture that they wanted to and getting there quickly. We've talked a lot about the chemistry and the energy in that room, and it was even cited as maybe one of the reasons they didn't make a move at the deadline was because they felt really good about where that chemistry was at. This is why you build it. We haven't seen this team face a ton of adversity, and that kind of starts here over the next month and a half. It does get easy at the end, when they get the Jets and the Dolphins, but they play the Ravens on December 21st. So call it the next month and a half. The adversity is going to ramp up. And we're going to get a real idea. Like, they definitely have formed a more talented roster than they had. I think that's what these last few games have been about more than anything else. No disrespect to Mike Vrabel or Josh McDaniels. I think they've done a good job. But I think, these wins against the Browns and the Titans and the Saints were simply about the roster elevation and the free agency signings that have worked and the draft picks that have hit, and Drake May's development. And that, in that sense, it's credit to the coaching staff and all of that. Now we're going to really see, there's the old Belichickism. Is it about collecting talent or is it about building a team? It's not just about collecting talent. It's about building a team. They've collected talent. I think and they'll have to continue to do it. They're not the most talented team, but they've seriously upped their talent quotient. To beat teams like Tampa, to beat a team like Buffalo twice in a season, which is not easy. To beat a healthy Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. To avoid trap games late in the year. Like that takes building a team. That takes more than talent. That takes a team effort. And that's what we're going to see here over the next couple of weeks. And I'm excited. I like you should be. I know this maybe sounds like I'm dumping on the Patriots and, cool your expectations. We'll see which way it goes. Like, I really don't know. This is going to be a really good indication of kind of where this thing's heading long-term, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting to see. And even if they lose some of those games, like, I still think they can be headed in the right direction.
What does it look like? How are they losing them? If they get beat, if they lose one bad, right? If they get, maybe Buffalo comes up here wanting revenge and kicks their doors in, how do they respond the next week at Baltimore? Can they come back? Can they bounce back or something like that? Like, it's going to be cool to see.
Exactly. So it's going to be a good test over this next month and a half coming down the stretch, and that definitely starts with this Tampa team. Again, you have to go down to Tampa, hot weather, good team, even though they are a little
You a
bit
little
banged up.
surprised they're doing all blue in the Florida Heat?
Yeah. So the Bucks are wearing the creamsicles, right?
No,
They're not.
they're just wearing their regular road whites. Now they wear
Oh,
white at home a good amount, but because they're a Florida team and all Florida, they're not like the Cowboys where they regularly do it. But no, they're just wearing the regular. It's the whites with I think it's pewter is the color, right?
pewter.
With the
Yeah.
pewter pants. They're not even doing the white out.
Wow. Someone told me earlier this week that they were wearing their creamsicles, and I was excited. So
I
that's
think that
disappointing.
was
But
only one game. And then they
okay.
added the second one against Seattle because everybody bullied them into it.
Yeah. So the Pats had to wear their blue tops no matter what,
Right.
but they could have
Yeah,
wore
either
the
way, the point stands.
but they could have went the white or the silver pants too. The blue on blue in the Heat.
We still haven't seen blue and white.
Yeah, we seen blue. Yeah, we've seen blue on silver.
We've seen blue on silver. We've seen white on
Yeah.
silver. We've seen white on white.
Have we seen white on blue?
Yeah, that's like their
Yeah, but have
this
they
year or in general.
this year?
Yeah, didn't they do that in Tennessee?
Oh, they might have, or was that because they did white on white in New Orleans and white on blue in Tennessee. Yeah.
I think white on blue is their best look.
Yeah,
So,
me
and I
too.
know we've seen it. I feel like we've seen it. Wait, have we seen it this year?
I
Hang
think they
on.
did do it in Tennessee but they were going through that weird stretch because they had to wear blue in Buffalo because they had their rivalry jerseys, and then they went white on white in New Orleans. Like they played multiple road games when they didn't get to wear white on blue, but I do think they took it out for Tennessee.
Yeah, they did white on blue in Tennessee. It's the only time they've done it. They did because they've only worn the white jerseys. That's the only time they've worn the white jerseys this year.
Well, no, in New Orleans too. The white on white.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So
White
it's week, and then week 11 they're home. They're gonna go 11 weeks only wearing their road jersey twice. That's kind of wild.
That is crazy. And we get the rivalry ones next week, Thursday night.
Yeah, that's right. We saw those helmets today. They had the helmets in the locker room. I didn't realize that they're matte white, so it's not like the same helmet from the throwback. It looks good. I said that all along though. Like the helmet's the best part of the uniform. I think we've said that from the beginning.
Yeah, and I don't know if I saw someone. It was on Twitter. They posted the field layouts on Madden with the throwback jerseys. I don't know if that's real, but it was like that. It's like that weird blue color in the end zone and the logo at midfield.
I asked Madden about that. Honestly, I have not heard back. If I do, I will let you guys know.
Look at that, boots on the ground.
That's right. That's the because I'm such a journalist. I do know this. The Patriots have not painted their end zones going back to the old stadium. I don't know if they've ever filled the end zones in at Gillette.
Yeah, now that you say that, I can't remember.
Oddly enough, so they do the throwback end zones now, but they actually they do the red letters with the green background. That end zone never existed. Like no Patriots team played in front of that end zone until a couple of years ago. It was a red end zone with blue letters in that font. That's something new. They've never filled it in. Now, a lot of teams on turf don't fill their end zone in because it's turf, it's grass. It's just harder to deal with painting and removing and all of that. But if they do it like they have in Madden, yeah, you can go on Twitter and find it. You'll see like it's a filled in end zone, and then it's that mono color Pat Patriot at midfield.
Yeah, the color of the jersey, that bluish gray kind of color, whatever you want to call that. So that'll be fun next week to see that because they do get a new field. All the teams get that. So we'll be back to preview that game and break down Patriots Bucks short week. So stay tuned for the schedule. So make sure you're locked on to Patriots Press Pass on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications so you do know when we are going to go live for both of those shows next week. Also, if you're just listening on audio only, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. We would greatly appreciate that. You can also follow Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for his Patriots coverage there. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines and head over to patspulpit.com for all of our Patriots coverage online there as well. So thanks everyone for jumping on with us tonight. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football, and we will see you guys back next week.